Hi, Pam Barker here, welcoming you to my Travel Bistro podcast. Pull up a chair, grab a drink, stay a while. Let's chat about travel. I want to talk today about Paris. I want to talk about being on location when you travel. A few years ago, Gary and I were in London, and that's another podcast that I will talk about. But I want to talk about taking advantage of things when you travel and understanding that you may never be back to that particular place, or even if you are, it won't be the same as that particular trip, that particular experience. And I say that because early in traveling, I learned that lesson. I learned you don't let yourself be too tired to do something. Don't stay in the room. If you're on a business trip with your partner, get out there and do things on your own. I don't mean put yourself in danger, but take tours. Experience the location where you are. So when we were in London, there's the opportunity to go under the English Channel on the train, the Chunnel, on the Chunnel train, through the Chunnel. You leave England, and when you come out of the Channel, you are in France. You are not in Paris, but you are in France. You are in the country of France. And I really did not want to do it. And before we got to London, I was pretty adamant that I'm a little bit claustrophobic. So Gary was really encouraging it. Let's go to Paris. Let's go to Paris. And as much as I thought it sounded romantic, I was a little bit nervous about going under all of that water on the tunnel because things happen. That's a lot of water on top of a train. But the funny thing that happened when we got to London, and we took the train. London, in Europe, they have great trains. They have great train service. You can get to a lot of countries quickly on it, because it's, look at the size. But we took the train to Windsor, and that was such a great experience. And so I thought about it some more, and the Channel train is actually very, very beautiful. It's very modern. The design of it is very modern. So I said, I'm thinking about it. And Gary said, well, I'll tell you what, if you want to go to Paris on the Channel, he said, we'll go first class. And he said, they keep you busy. They feed you, they serve you food, they serve you drink, and you're only really in the Channel for about half an hour, roughly. And the rest of the time you're on land. And so I said, okay, but I was still nervous. And when you're approaching the entrance to the actual tunnel part, you feel that apprehension coming on. And the servers in first class wanted to hear me they wanted to hear me say different words, different French words. And they were very, very nice and made me feel very comfortable, as did Gary, and took all the worry away. And it was so worth it. It was so worth it. You come up in the beautiful countryside of France, and then you arrive in Paris. And we didn't have any plans. We didn't, because it was spur of the moment, which is better. Spontaneity is better. Gary and I are so about that. It's like all of a sudden, hey, let's do fill in the blank. And it usually is so much more fun than when you spend an inordinate amount of time planning and painstaking plotting. And so we walked out, and all these line of Parisian cabs were there, and we hopped in one, and Gary said Eiffel Tower. It's like we didn't have anything planned. And the most beautiful thing, it rained. And there's a movie called Sabrina, and it's Audrey Hepburn. And she tells Humphrey Bogart about she had lived in Paris and telling him about going to Paris. And she said, it has to rain. It has to rain on your first day in Paris. And it did. It rained. It rained on us. It was so wonderful. And they have these great hop on, hop off buses, very reasonable. And and that's a great way to see Paris. And it's just it's splendid. It's so splendid. So one thing I will caution you when you're in Paris, try to learn a little bit of French. They appreciate it. But also, when you're shopping, don't touch their merchandise unless you intend to buy it. They really don't like it. And also, dress. Dress for Paris. I'm a big thing about dress. I have a big thing about dressing anyway. Dressing properly, dressing. I love to dress. So go ahead and put in some extra effort when you are in both Italy and Paris. I won't digress into Italy. That'll be later, but yeah, make the effort because they do. But don't touch the merchandise because unless you don't like pick it up and check it out, unless you really intend to buy it, because they are not very keen on that for you to do that. But the whole point of this Travel Bistro podcast is, and I'll mention it again as time goes on, but just to be in the moment, really be in the moment. The hotel room, so many people complain when they travel internationally. Oh, the this or the that or the this or the that. It's not like at home. And you know what? If you're going to be that way, you probably should stay at home because travel is not home, and it is going to be different. In some places in Europe, have toilet paper in your purse. There are travel rolls of toilet tissue that by Charmin, and they are packaged small, and you will need that sometimes in Europe. But if you can't relax and let yourself be in the moment, you really should try to because it's so worth it. And try really hard to ignore the annoyances that are going to crop up, and they will. That's just travel. But if you can just bend and yield and expect the unexpected, that helps a whole lot. But I highly recommend spontaneity. When you get to a place, you don't have to have everything planned out. Try to go where the locals go, really where they go, not where they're going to send tourists, but really engage with people, with real people, not the concierge, not the people that are being paid to send you places. Try to pop into a local bar, maybe near your hotel, chat with people. They will tell you what to do, and they're not really getting anything out of it except whatever tip you leave them, but they will really give you great advice. So, highly recommend that. If you go to Paris, take the Chunnel, and if you can, do it first class, and don't forget to dress properly. You can find a lot of things about our travel on northpalmbeachlife.com. That's our website. My podcasts are there, my other two podcasts. We have so much travel stuff, but I like sharing here in the Travel Bistro, thinking about you, being across the table. We're just chatting. Travel on.